I mean, Terence Crawford has had an amazing career against a lot of very good fighters and world-class fighters, and honestly has barely lost a round. When you look back at Bud Crawford's career, there is something really special.
There's nothing to do, but damn, like, what else do you gotta do? he's a 3-time undisputed champion.
You looking small? What you mean I'm looking small? You looking small? Like, it's just that, like, you gotta really hurt that dude to turn him away and to try to stop him from doing what he want to do. So skillful, yes, but this and this.
Fighters often fear Terence Crawford for many reasons. Roy Jones Jr. said even Canelo looked uneasy during their face-off. What makes Crawford dangerous isn't just his skill, but his calmness while analyzing every move. He barely gets hit clean, punishes mistakes with perfect timing, and leaves opponents believing victory is impossible.
And that stare down that we talked about when I told you either he's not ready for this or he trying to Bud. He wasn't trying to little boy Bud. He really was afraid, well, not afraid, but he was worried about Bud. And Bud knew that. And Bud being the older guy, Bud kind of looked him in his eye and made him turn away first. That was a victory for Bud. That was Bud's first victory. Anytime that happens, if something else don't come around or something else don't happen to undo that, you got a problem.
Paulie Malignaggi emphasized how Terence Crawford has built an extraordinary boxing record. He became undisputed champion 3 times, something almost unseen in today's sport. Crawford achieved this by taking on elite opponents rather than easy fights. What impressed Paulie most wasn't just the victories, but Crawford's ability to avoid serious punishment, rarely being hit cleanly while dominating. His career numbers prove it: 41 wins, 31 knockouts, 0 defeats. Paulie called this run historic and noted Crawford's triumph over Canelo felt like more than another win. To him, it marked the beginning of a new era, echoing Mayweather's reign.
Flawless. I mean, Terence Crawford has had an amazing career against a lot of very good fighters and world-class fighters, and honestly has barely lost a round. When you look back at Bud Crawford's career, there is something really special. It's one of those things now, because now I've now seen back-to-back generations of Floyd Mayweather and Bud Crawford, and man, you know, it's one of those things where now I understand why the people that lived in the Ray Leonard era say, you know, oh, wish we could see Ray Leonard against Mayweather and how that would be. Because it just leaves such an empty feeling when you have such special fighters that were in different generations, and you saw both of them. You know, I saw the entirety of the Mayweather generation. I saw the entirety of the Bud Crawford generation. Just incredible. Really, really incredible. And I know Mayweather gets a lot of hate, but for me, he's a tremendous fighter. And Terence Bud Crawford is in that realm as well. And it's a fight we'll never get to see. So what are we going to do, you know? It'll be up to the fantasy fights, you know. But let's get into it, man. I want to get into the undercard as well and some of my thoughts on the Netflix show. But let's get into the main event first. Crawford really boxed very, very well, very, very intelligently. The question mark was what happens when Crawford gets hit cleanly. I'm not sure he got hit cleanly the whole fight. You know, he got hit with some partial shots. Some shots landed cleanly, but by the time Canelo started landing anything cleanly, I think he was hesitant because he was getting countered so much that he was taking some of the steam off the shots in order to hope to be more accurate. Because even late in the fight, there were a couple of shots that Canelo landed, but they barely moved.
Bryan described how remarkable it was to watch Terence Crawford against Canelo, noting he had rarely seen such balance between defense and offense in today's boxing. Usually, fighters excel in one area while leaving the other exposed. Crawford displayed both with precision. Against Canelo, he showed he could neutralize attacks with his guard and movement, then instantly switch to offense to exploit openings. Bryan explained this complete skill set separates Crawford from most champions, since he shuts down opponents' weapons while building momentum. For him, it was astonishing to see a fighter not just avoid damage, but dominate an elite rival with composure.
See, I think that for me, I watch defense as much as I watch offense. So yeah, like I thought like watching Bud catch those shots off his glove.
He looked amazing.
So amazing.
Yeah, he looked good.
Yeah. He'd go to a body and he'd catch that and come up with an uppercut. You know, just all those things that seem.
He looked great.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody do that ever.
No one has. Yeah, he's the best.
Canelo.
Ever. Yeah, he's the best.
And I think he would do that to Canelo on his best day. Canelo said it. He goes, I couldn't figure him out.
No.
Which is why he probably won't fight him again. In a way.
They'll fight again.
You think so?
The payday, yeah. But so you're going to get Canelo because the money's in Canelo Crawford, the rematch. Yeah. I don't want to see it, but I want Crawford to get paid, so might as well do it.
Andre Ward praised Terence Crawford, calling him the most skilled fighter among his peers. Ward, a master technician of his own era, stressed Crawford's mentality, noting that once Terence decides on a goal, he'll do whatever it takes to achieve it. Ward explained the only real way to stop a fighter like Crawford is to truly hurt him, since tactics alone won't work. Crawford's adaptability, stance switching, and ability to think clearly under pressure place him in a rare group of fighters who impose their will regardless of circumstances. For Ward, Crawford's rise isn't luck, but the result of grit, determination, and relentless pursuit of victory.
Somebody that, like, I can bet the house on is Bud.
Who's the most skilled fighter today?
Bud is definitely one of them, for sure. Me and him, we so much alike in our mentality. Like, soon as I see this dude, he come in the room or I come in the room, we start arguing about basketball, wrestling, anything, bro. Like, man, you can't, man, you looking small. What you mean I'm looking small? You looking small. Like, it's just that, like, you got to really hurt that dude to turn him away and to try to stop him from doing what he want to do. So, skillful, yes. But this and this,
yeah.
it's different, man.
Crawford's path has always been personal, shaped strongly by his family. He often recalls how his father predicted he would one day be an undisputed world champion, planting belief in him early. His mother, however, remained doubtful, never fully convinced he'd reach the top. Instead of discouraging him, her skepticism became fuel. Each time he entered the ring, he carried the drive to prove her wrong. With every victory and title, Crawford fulfilled his father's vision while also earning his mother's pride. Now he looks back with satisfaction, knowing his career delivered both respect and validation, turning family influence into the foundation of his greatness.
Dad used to tell my mom I was going to be a world champ.
I told him we would be.
How'd that make you feel? It filled me with rage. And every time I stepped foot in the ring or anything that I ever did, I just wanted to win so bad so I can prove a point to her.
I paid the kids, I said, if y'all can whoop Bud, I give y'all $10 a piece. Could none whoop him.
You went out on the street.
Yeah.
What's now Bud Crawford Street.
Yeah.
And offered $10 to anyone who can kick my son's butt.
Yep.
And a lot of takers.
Yeah, the kids in the neighborhood. Couldn't nobody whoop them.
What did he tell you then?
He told you, Mom, I told you I'm the best.
Reflecting on his career choices, Crawford said he never aimed to be undisputed at 154 lbs because he didn't see enough strong competition there. For him, undisputed status isn't about stacking belts, but about winning them against top opposition. Rather than staying at 154, he boldly moved toward opportunities at 168, where tougher challenges and bigger names could further build his legacy. Crawford's decision not to move down highlights his belief in testing himself at higher divisions, proving his career is defined by risk-taking and ambition instead of comfort or easy victories.
Has being undisputed at 154 ever crossed your mind at this point that you at in your career?
Not at all, because I'm looking at the landscape of the 154-pound division. There's a lot of great fighters, but there's not a lot of defining fights at 154. There's not a lot of legacy fights at 154. You know, when I'm looking at the landscape of 154, I beat, what's his name?
Majimov? No, 154?
No. The champion that just knocked out Tim Tszyu.
Oh, Bachram. Yeah.
Okay, so Bachram, they're going to say, who was Bachram?
Facts.
He knocked out Tim Tszyu that already had losses.
What you done with Fedora, though?
But Fedora already been knocked out.
Yeah, he did.
So, along my career, I've been criticized and people have taken credit away from me just to try to diminish my accomplishments just off of pure hate.
Crawford often takes moments to display the belts he's earned, not as shallow bragging, but as proof of years of discipline and persistence. To him, each title marks more than victory. It reflects the sacrifices and struggles behind it. Standing with those championships reminds fans and critics alike that nothing came easily. Every belt was secured through hard battles, doubt, and relentless effort. They represent his belief in himself and the discipline that carried him to the top. For Crawford, the collection of gold is not just personal glory, but inspiration for the next generation of fighters determined to follow his path.
I'm just reflecting
on all my accomplishments at my mama house. That's where all my belts at. You know, hard work, dedication. Things that y'all favorite fighters, some of them, ain't got. So I see why y'all mad. See why y'all mad. Ooh, look at that one right there. This where it all started at. Right here. This one. In Texas. In Texas, baby. Don't hate. Just congratulate.
Virgil Ortiz Jr., a rising star, gave huge credit to Crawford for his recent fight, calling the performance absolutely beautiful. Ortiz said Crawford proved everything in that bout and doesn't even need more opponents to validate his greatness. In his view, Crawford has already secured his legacy and no longer requires new challenges to be remembered among the best. Hearing this admiration from a young, ambitious fighter highlights how much Crawford's dominance has impressed the next generation, leaving them inspired and in awe of what he has already achieved.
Perfect fight, actually. He neutralized all of Canelo's strengths. He knew that he was gonna look for the right hook, because I believe that they've been looking at Crawford being hurt by that right hook before. So he neutralized it. He used his jab really well. He boxed beautifully, and man, I mean, he did everything right. Yeah.
Now, let's talk about Crawford first, because obviously we can get to Canelo later, but in the post-fight, they asked him, a media member asked him if he'd come back down to 154 to fight Boots. Obviously, in the same token, I took it as, all right, Boots or Virgil, right? And he said he's not coming back down to 154. What are your thoughts on him not coming down, and what do you think he will more than likely do next?
I don't know what he's gonna do. I did read something that said he'll go down to 160, you know, and I think that is definitely a possibility, and you know, that fight can still happen at 160. And as far as what he's gonna do now, I mean, I don't know. He kind of beat the final boss of the game, you know what I mean? There's kind of nothing. I don't want to say there's nothing to do, but damn, like, I mean, what else do you got to do? he's a 3-time undisputed champion. He made some good money. At this point, he's just a free player right now, I guess. He can do whatever he wants.
Crawford's influence on boxing has sparked a ripple effect, with fighters from other divisions eager to challenge him. Sebastian Fundora, known for his height and aggressive style, has already voiced interest in facing Crawford. This reflects what many call the Crawford effect. Once a fighter reaches dominance, others want to test themselves against him to earn credibility. Instead of Crawford chasing opponents, they are now lining up to fight him. It's a role reversal that underscores the power and authority Crawford currently commands within the sport, making him a target for ambitious challengers.
Effect is in full effect, okay? It's in full effect. Terence Crawford now is a wanted man. Prior to that, everybody said Terence Crawford is not a draw. Terence Crawford can't sell. Terence Crawford is not a big money fight. Now, we have an interesting situation brewing. The former unified WBO, WBC, junior middleweight world champion, Mexican superstar or star boxer, the towering inferno, Sebastian Fundora, refused to fight Terence Bud Crawford, who is now, no doubt, first ballot Hall of Famer, no doubt, the pound for pound king, 5-division world champion, 3-division undisputed world champion, with a record of 42 wins, no loss, no draw, 31 wins by way of knockout. When Terence Crawford dominated and stopped The Truth, Errol Spence Jr., in July of 2023, Terence Crawford petitioned to move up and fight the towering inferno, Sebastian Fundora, okay? And Sebastian Fundora has zero interest.
No Shockey, Foster admitted he was surprised at how Crawford silenced long-standing doubts about his career. For years, critics argued Crawford hadn't faced enough top-level opponents or that he might struggle against elite fighters. Yet his recent wins, especially over Canelo, showed he could dominate established champions. Foster said Crawford not only erased skepticism, but also raised the bar by proving himself on the biggest stage. To him, Crawford's journey reflects persistence and determination, transforming years of criticism into undeniable respect from fans, fighters, and the boxing world.
Yeah, I mean, shit. They definitely doubted, bro. And he told me months ago that he was gonna do that. And he went and did that. That shit. You know what I mean? They doubted him a lot throughout his career, you know what I mean? Just a lot. And just a lot of people that I look at that's great fighters, they've been doubted. You know what I mean? Same thing with Floyd. Floyd, they had the Oscar De La Hoyas, the Shane Mosleys, the Trinidad, they all was putting them above Floyd and all this woo-de-woo. You know what I mean? So I just feel like getting doubted is a great thing. It gives me, you know what I mean, that push. So, yeah.
Did you think it would look that, I ain't gonna call it easy, but I felt like people didn't think that Crawford could do it that clean. Did that surprise you?
No. It did surprise me that he stayed more disciplined. Like, I thought what was gonna happen was he was gonna do what he was doing, and then, you know, Terence got hard. He trying to bang it out, especially if he feel played enough. He feel like you feel like you doing something, he gonna come with it tough. So I thought that was gonna be a problem. Like if Canelo landed a punch, he would try to go in the trenches with Canelo. And that's what I would have been scared for him for. But man, that boy stayed sharp all night, man. That boy looked good, man. I can't lie. He looked good. Sure. I was definitely surprised at how smooth, how easy he beat him.
Blair Cobbs and Conor Benn shared strong reactions to Crawford's victory over Canelo. Cobbs called the win a defining milestone, while Benn suggested Crawford could even retire now, leaving boxing on a perfect high. His remark wasn't criticism, but recognition that Crawford's career already looks complete. In Benn's eyes, there's nothing left to prove. Crawford could walk away today and still be remembered as one of the greatest ever. Their comments reflect the belief that his legacy is already secure, boldly written regardless of what the future holds.
To sail out on that beautiful sunset and retire. He's done a lot for the sport, and there's really not too much else that he can possibly do in the sport of boxing outside of make a beautiful retirement and leave a legacy of fighters that aspire to be just as great as Terence Crawford, like myself.
Has Canelo's legacy been damaged after that or not?
Not really. I think that Canelo is still a terrific and a fantastic athlete that's spent a little bit too much time at the table of boxing, and right now is his time to make his exit.
Not everyone agrees with the idea of Crawford's invincibility. Some analysts argue that defeating Canelo, while monumental, doesn't automatically make him unbeatable. They note that boxing is filled with other elite fighters who could potentially challenge or even outclass him under the right conditions. For these voices, Crawford's victory is historic yet not absolute. Boxing remains unpredictable, and even the greatest can be tested. This perspective highlights that while Crawford has reached extraordinary heights, the sport continually presents new threats, ensuring debates over his true place in boxing history will remain alive for years to come.
In another division, that's not the move. If he goes back down there, he's the best guy in that division. I think it's safe to say that. But I do think that a lot of those guys will be very interesting and potentially difficult style matchups for him. They'll be more difficult than a Canelo fight. And I know that sounds crazy to say, but just go and look at the fight with Madrimov if you don't believe me. Long story short, beating Canelo Alvarez doesn't mean that Crawford is unstoppable or unbeatable. Yes, he's one of the best fighters of this division, one of the best fighters ever with his achievements, but it doesn't mean he won't lose before the end if he fights the wrong guy. At the very least, it doesn't mean he won't have a harder fight than that Canelo fight. And to finish this video, do I think that he's better than Floyd Mayweather? Do I think now that he would beat Floyd Mayweather if they were to compete at 147? Well, I think Crawford at 147 is the best Terence Crawford in terms of his attributes, his style, and the strength and power he has at the weight. I think he's probably unbeatable at 147 in this era. It's because he's going up the weight style we're even having this conversation, to be honest with you. But I do think he's an all-time great. I do think he's in the conversation, which is the best you can do because we can't definitively say who beats who in a fantasy match. That's why I really don't like them. I've been asked a few of them recently, and I just, without studying and then without actually getting the chance to see it, I just don't really like going there. But we'll do it at the end of this video anyway. It's definitely a conversation to have whether or not he's better than Floyd Mayweather, because he's done it without these rehydration clauses. He's done it. He hasn't really cherry picked, although I would say, to be fair, to look at Crawford's record, he has fought a lot of guys where it's been the very end of their career at welter. You know, Sean Porter, Amir Khan, Kell Brook, they're all great names, but none of them were in their prime anymore. But Crawford did it so emphatically, and the way he beat Errol Spence as well. Again, he'd had his issues, but again, the way he did it so emphatically, the way he passes the eye test every single time, you have to assume that he's going to do it no matter who he's facing. I do think a fight between him and Mayweather would have been very, very difficult to call.